Hello, my name is Catherine and I'm the Director within the Business of Data team here at Crinium, and it is a pleasure to have you joining us today. Driven by our global connected network, Crinium inspires data and analytics senior leaders to drive efficiency and innovation and follow proven paths to success. The Business of Data show is just one of the formats where we showcase thought-leading insights from senior data analytics executives. In each episode, we'll discuss the latest industry news and research and explore the hottest topics, challenges and opportunities from around the world. On that note, we'd love to hear from you. If you have thoughts, questions or topics that you'd like us to cover in future episodes, please do email them over to bod@criniumgroup.com. Capitalizing on data and analytics depends on building the right team, but recruiting and retaining the right talent is often a challenge. Data and analytics functions are constantly evolving, with new roles such as model operators and model engineers being created as enterprises experiment to find the best way to operationalize data-driven tools. At the same time, companies are increasingly realizing that they must invest in data literacy initiatives to ensure all staff have the skills they need to work with data-driven tools. Our first guest joining me today to talk about the state of data analytics talent is Maria Teresido, who's a Global Data Program Manager for Facebook. Maria recently joined me on the Business of Data podcast, talking all about big tech and the future of analytics. I'm so glad Maria is able to join us again, but this time to talk about talent and the community. Welcome to the Business of Data show, Maria.
Hey, Catherine. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Maria. So I'm going to dive straight in. My first question to you today is, why is having the right data and analytics talent so important in the modern business world?
Well, we live in the age of information and technology, and definitely the right data and analytics as a capability is really important to have on the businesses. So that is only if you bring the right talent as well. People who understand data, who understand what information they can use and how they can improve the business's strategy in a way that it will be ready for the future. So the talent comes always with the need of the capability. A lot of companies struggle just because they have built their businesses in a completely different prioritization. Let's say their goals and their strategies were very different in the past, specifically more conservative business models and legacy businesses and companies. They actually love to have more experience in the managerial side rather than information and technology. So you used to have people with 20 or 30 years of experience with what the company does as a product rather than with how the consumers would approach that product and how different audiences and segments of the consumer base would react to different proposals of the product. I guess this is why right now we realize that we do need to give a voice to the customers, to the consumers, and the only way to hear that voice and understand who the consumer is through data.
Absolutely. Now, I want to pick up on that point because you mentioned that many companies struggle with this respect, and you mentioned a few key things there like legacy. So what's the solution? What would you say that companies need to do to get back on track with this challenge of having the right data and analytics talent?
So definitely a prioritization of how they build their product proposals, and also an understanding of where they stand in terms of the technological transformation within the business, as well as building up the departments and the right capabilities inside the company in order to support this new service. And create the space for talented people in the data field to come in and revolutionize the way that they operate at the end of the day. Because data and analytics doesn't only have to do with the way we design our products and we offer those products to our customers, also how we acquire the right audience, how we nurture this audience. It has to do as well with how do we operate as a business. Yeah, I guess that's my answer to that.
That's fantastic. Now, what's Facebook's approach to cultivating the right data and analytics talent, and what do you think companies from outside the tech sector can learn from this approach?
I think Facebook started with information, right? So it's all about data, for better or worse. And the talent that they decided to employ has already a very mature way of using data and of informing their decision in that way. It is a technology company, and big tech actually do depend a lot in information that they receive from every end. So their approach is actually to have, let's say, 80 or 90% of their employees already being immersed into the world of data and already having that kind of experience with analytics. And to that end, and in a previous podcast together, I told you that there is no actual role of a data analyst per se in the company. So everyone is required to understand data and be able to extract the right data, be able to ask the right questions and find their answers in the data by themselves. So it's very self-serving. We don't depend in a centralized, let's say, data or analytics model where only a few engineers and data scientists understand that information and they can use it. It's everybody's game, to be honest. So everyone should be able to deep dive and understand the data. And yeah, the data analyst type of role doesn't exist. Everyone is supposed to be a manager, a project manager, an UX designer, plus an analyst, data analyst. We do have roles like data scientists and data engineers, but those are, let's say, roles for even more advanced analytics capabilities.
So picking up on that point, Maria, is it a case that when Facebook is recruiting for data-centric people, they're looking for people who already have this as a skill, or is it looking for curious people and the kind of soft skills that we see around data analytics of wanting to understand more and dig deeper, and then there's a case of upskilling within Facebook? How does that look?
So I would say, from my experience, and only just because I work in the global marketing team, maybe some other teams work differently, they do expect to come in with a specific, let's say, skill set and knowledge around data. Curiosity is good, and also having the soft skills around how do I inform my decisions through this data and what kind of answers or questions do I want to ask. On what next steps should we take, how do we innovate, things like that obviously are important, but they are very keen on the new employees to come in with a set of skills that can actually support the capabilities that they have in analytics and data.
Absolutely fantastic. That's really, really interesting, and I could definitely take us on a bit of a curve there to know whether education is even providing the right skills, because I know there's certainly a gap between what is being taught and then what is actually being used within corporate and within business compared to, say, that academic approach. But I am keen to ask you, what role must data literacy programs play in driving data-driven business transformations? Because as we said there, that kind of upskilling and continuity, the fact that everyone's coming into Facebook with a base knowledge in data, what data literacy programs are currently being created?
So in big tech or in general in businesses? So, because I can answer for both.
Go for both. Go for both.
Okay. So in terms of Facebook, there are programs and courses that someone can just follow by themselves. It's like an open school, like a university of different skill sets, and you can just pick and choose if you want to become more advanced. But in reality, what's happening with big tech, and that was also my experience at PayPal. Back in the days when I was just starting my career, it was that they just throw you into cold water and they expect you to swim. So you must understand that by hiring all this, let's say, talented people in data, you have the best professor sitting next to you. So all you have to do is just ask and listen, and let's say have some joint projects with them, and you will learn from them much more than just a virtual course or um, I don't know, a university course maybe. um, During you also doing the job, so it's called learning by doing in reality. And it's how everyone speeds up their learning curve in big tech. On the other hand, and that comes I think that comes because you do have the right talent in that business, and you have people with multiple years of experience and also willing to show you how to work best, but also because there's the data democratization in those companies. So data belongs to every single product. It's not siloed, and it's not centrally governed. And that means that as an individual, you're able to experiment with a lot of different data concepts and models. And that's pretty much what you need. On the other hand, when we talk about traditional businesses, let's say about financial services or banking, everything it's quite centralized and siloed. And that means that as an individual, if you do want to scale up and understand or maybe learn more about your field or a new field in data and analytics, you don't have the capability at first and the access to use this data and to experiment with the data. And on the other hand, just because the centralized operational model doesn't allow you to have access to the right people who actually do understand the data better than you and who have spent years of manipulating this data and visualizing it and building up models around this data, then that lack of access obviously makes you as an individual who wants to build up your skill set in data and analytics much more difficult. Um, they do offer separate, let's say, either sessions or courses. They do always have a budget, like 1 or 2K, for you to externally try and seek that knowledge. But I always thought that actually being immersed in a world of technology and
Yeah.
working together with people side by side that have a lot of experience in that field is the easiest way to actually learn.
Absolutely. I think we align on that for certain, Maria. I often think about it as sitting down and learning theoretically how to ride a bike versus actually getting out there, popping the stabilizers off and going for it. And actually that's where the real learning takes place and where you adapt and learn from mistakes. Maria, thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for the invitation. It's always lovely talking to you, Catherine.
Delighted to be here and to welcome our next guest speaker. I'm joined by Craig Napier, who is the Chief Data Officer at the University of Technology. Craig is developing and collaboratively advancing a whole of institutional approach to drive evidence-based decisions. Craig has in excess of 20 years experience in data-intensive environments, both domestically and internationally, and 15 years as data and analytics executive in the higher education sector, and is well known for his collaborative approach. Craig was recognised third in the top 10 IAPA analytics leaders in 2020. Craig is currently President of Transforming Data with Intelligence and former Chair of the Australasian Association for International Research. It's Business Intelligence, Data Warehousing and Analytics Specialist Interest Group. He holds a Master of Business Administration, Bachelor of Business, and is a fellow certified practicing accountant. Welcome, Craig. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Kate. It's good to be here.
Great. Craig, I'm going to dive straight into the first question we've got for us here. Talent has consistently been flagged by data and analytics leaders as a major challenge. Why is it so important in the modern business world to get this right? And why do you think so many companies are struggling with this?
Yeah, look, talent's a really, key part to any data and analytics initiative. And I think one of the things that organisations tend to do, and I've seen it many different times, is they're really probably also not clear in what they're looking for.
Right.
So I think really a key ability is to really understand what that business outcome you're looking for, understand the resources that you're needing for what it is that you need to undertake and how those resources work together in a team. So I think a lot of the work is about thinking about talent in the context of a team, and being able to support and provide a lot of those learning opportunities. So it's from identifying, recruiting, but also retaining talent. And I think that's the real challenge, is really being able to retain the good talent by giving them learning opportunities, by enabling...
That's my next question, yeah, for sure. How are you retaining that talent, Craig?
Yeah, so, I think that's one of the key things, is providing learning opportunities and that ability to innovate and explore. I think one of the things that sort of happens a lot is that our data scientists or our analytics professionals have spent so much time in the data engineering activities, or trying to prepare and curate and cleanse data.
Cold face.
That's right.
Yeah.
That they're really missing out on really the value that the data science team can bring.
Sure.
So I think if there's a real opportunity to ensure that you can get your data foundations right, create your data pipelines, I think you can build a team to ensure that you've got the right resources exploring the latest trends, the new innovations, and really starting to explore some of the opportunities that, the students coming out of universities today are ready to hit the ground running, and it's really being able to harness that talent and embed them within the organisation.
I love your focus, on teams. You talk about talent and teams, so you're not hunting unicorns anywhere or in any shape or form. They don't exist?
Oh, look, I won't say they don't exist. I think it's a really interesting point. I think one of the things is that, you need to find multiple unicorns to de-risk your team in the data analytics space. So if you've just got one unicorn, then it does make it very difficult if that person leaves and moves on to another role. So I think what I'm very interested in, passionate about, is bringing through a diverse team that can complement the range of different activities that we need within the team, and that sort of spans from your stakeholder engagement, data management, and also sort of some of the data science and analytics capabilities and the modelling that we need. Being able to sort of spread the load across the team becomes so very important.
Critical.
Yeah.
Absolutely, thank you. What's your advice, Craig, to cultivating the right data and analytics talent? Are there certain approaches that you found to be more effective than others? Yeah,
I think, look, when we're looking at talent, I think one of the things that, I've done previously is sort of support, new graduates through, and there is an enormous amount of graduates coming out of universities, and I'm at the University of Technology, Sydney, and there's some amazing talent. And I think being able to harness that talent and being able to embed, but also complement them with some experience as well, and provide the environment for them to excel. Yeah. I think equally what we're finding is that I'm really focused on supporting teams to develop new skills as well. So how we can embed new capabilities within existing skill sets, and again,
upskilling.
That's right. And because one of the things we find is that there's a lot of ability, there's a lot of skills, there's a lot of subject matter expertise, and to extend that into more of the data science and analytics, that gives a really competitive advantage. Sure. Because it's that subject matter expertise that provides so much value. So how can we integrate some of the learning and continual and lifelong learning within some of those frameworks becomes really imperative. And so it's about building, cultivating, harnessing and empowering that talent. And I think part of my role as a senior leader is providing the environment for that to grow.
To happen, yeah. And for them to be inspired.
Absolutely.
For the future.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yep.
Now, I'm coming on to a big topic here. What role must data literacy programs play in driving data data-driven business transformations. How do you feel the acceleration of self-serve analytics, for example, will it impact data analytics teams?
Yeah, so data literacy across all parts of your organisation is absolutely important. Whether you're a developer, whether you're just a consumer of information, or you need that to make a decision. It sort of spans all different areas, and I think data literacy is embedded within the training, the education, and also that learning. But as we introduce new self-service capabilities, what we're actually doing is providing the tools in the hands of the rest of the organisation. And it becomes an increasing focus on ensuring we get those data foundations right.
Yes.
And really ensuring that we've got the data pipelines, the engineering up to a scale that, it's sort of like when you're going to the kitchen and you turn the tap on, like you want water to be there when you're
That's my expectation, yeah.
And, and data is no different. You can't wait, hours, weeks, days for access to the information. You need it when you need it, because time critical information, time critical decisions are really what data and analytics should be able to provide.
And that is the way of the modern business world.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. So it's interesting you mentioned access, because that it's clearly a huge part to play in all of this. Self-serve analytics, having it across the organisation and people able and, in a real-time sense, as you say, to access that information and how it's going to impact the business going forward.
Yeah, access is critical, and I think, the ability to share data and utilise data in a way that is secure and for authorised purposes is especially important. So whilst you want to explore the latest innovations, I think really being able to ensure that you've got the right access protocols and you're managing the ways in which information is accessed becomes, I guess it really becomes a really key focus for a lot of organisations.
As you say, it's that balance again, though, between effective risk management and driving innovation.
That's right.
And it's a very hard balance to
That's right.
to get to. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, looking ahead, what do you think the business of the future will look like with respect to data and analytics skills? How will the roles and responsibilities of different staff members evolve in the years ahead, do you think, Craig?
Yeah, look, I don't quite have the crystal ball, but, I think one of the things that is really interesting in the data and analytics space is that it is evolving and it's changing rapidly.
Absolutely.
I talk to my kids about sort of the range of different roles that would be existing in the future. And some of those roles may not be there. They're saying, well, I don't need my driver's licence anymore because I'll be in a driverless car. Right. So there's, a range of different roles that will and won't be needed. Yeah. But I think one of the key things is that everybody is still going to need to be able to utilise data and understand data to drive some of the evidence-based decisions that we need. The ability and the time that we need to undertake to get that data has to reduce. Yep. And it's those organisations that are succeeding in that space that will be here in the future and that can be innovative. So I think there's a lot of opportunity within sort of some of the innovation areas, but the ability to get access to the data and be able to analyse it in a way that you can action is very, very important.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think we've touched upon quite a few of the key cornerstones there, really, in being able to drive initiatives in this field. So, Craig, I'm afraid we are out of time, but look, thank you so much for joining me today. Really appreciate it.
No, thanks, Kate. It's been very enjoyable and, delighted to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll hand back to you, Catherine, in our UK studio to wrap up this episode. Back to you now, Catherine.
There we go. What a brilliant episode. Thank you again to our thought leaders for their fantastic contributions. Next time, we'll be talking all about edge computing. Just as we have done this time, we'll be joined by expert thought leaders to help us deep dive into the challenges and opportunities. Be sure to subscribe to the Business of Data YouTube channel, follow our page on LinkedIn and visit our content platform for more great content, insights and connections. Stay safe, stay well, and we'll see you next time.